All right, good afternoon. Well, it depends on when you're watching this, right? Could be at night, could be in the morning. Where are we? August 30th. August 30th, Glenn Stein Realty Executives here in the Villages. And this is a form that you are going to want to get used to if you're going to buy in the Villages. So I want to clarify a lot of things. Wow, this is a super important video. You're going to want to watch the whole thing, number one. Please share this with people that you know, because this is going to be, it looks like this is the new way to do business on the MLS side in real estate in the Villages for sure. So when you're looking at this, this is a showing agreement. Before you go look at homes, as a realtor, not Property of the Villages, but as a realtor with MLS, you're going to need to actually sign this before you go shopping. It's going to be one of these forms. There's actually two other forms that are like it: a pre-touring form, showing agreement is one, and a buyer brokerage agreement, which is a little bit more of a full-fledged. The difference is being showing agreement is going to be like having coffee. Buyer brokerage agreement is essentially it's like getting married, right? Like that is the difference between the forms. So when you're looking at when you're starting the shopping process, the buying process, get ready for looking at one of these forms. It's going to be very normal. And just know when you sign this that be comfortable. This is what I would do, by the way. I think it's really important. You have a buyer. You've got a buyer's agent. You're trying to buy a property in the Villages. Doesn't actually anywhere in the country, by the way. It's not just the Villages, not just Florida. The whole country has to do this. If you are a buyer, interview your buyers. What's happened from the public standpoint is like, I just want to go look at a home. Just want to look at it. And you find someone that looks like they can open up a door and you work with them. I think it's going to be important, and this is what I've been working on with my agents, is being really clear about the value proposition. What do they bring to the table? And I think that's a question that you need to be asking your buyer's agent, the person that's going to help you not only open up a door, help you find a home, but finding a home is really anybody can find a home. Anybody can open up a door. It's really about who's going to give you the most information so you can make the best decision possible when you're moving, specifically here in the Villages. Interview your people, not just, what are you going to charge? Not just, how long you've been in the business. It's not only about the length of time in the business. It's going to be, what are the things that you do? What do you provide that is going to be helpful for me in a very nice way, right? Like, I think that's important, almost as if you are selling a home. It's going to be very similar. So these showing agreements, get ready for, and there's a couple of different variations of this, but basically it's going to say for how long the agreement is for. Is it going to be for a certain number of properties? How much the buyer's agent is going to make? Those are all things that you are going to see on this form. The basic reason for the form is basically to disclose how a buyer's agent, an agent that's helping a buyer, gets paid. What are they going to get paid? What are they doing for you? What their representation is? What are they going to do for you, right? Like, that's important. That's what also needs to come with this. So I'm advocating for all of my people, realty executives, to not only, here's the showing agreement or the buyer brokerage agreement. Here are all the things I'm going to do for you, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer. Expect that, ask for that. What are you going to do? So I'm trying to educate the public right now. Ready to have that conversation with my people over the last 4 or 5 months, doing that for the public now. I'm also going to be speaking at the POA, Property Owners Association, in November. We're going to be talking about that, just like, what does this mean for the public? And I want to take that next step, right? Like, so what does that mean for you specifically? Person that's trying to buy something in the Villages or anywhere else in the country for that matter. So basically what this agreement says is that you are hiring someone to help you buy a home. It could be a temporary agreement. Be sure that you're clear about it. Be sure that you understand what you're signing, because a lot of people sign things, they don't understand what they're signing, and then they get stuck. Okay? We've had a couple of those situations. So make sure you know who who you're working with, and what you're signing. The next thing is that mostly, probably about 95%, 96%, a high percentage of properties out there are still offering some kind of buyer agent, buyer broker compensation, meaning their commission, their money is coming from either the listing agent or the seller, which is that's the way it's always been. Now, it is possible, not likely, that the buyer could have to pay this. It's not likely. It's probably about a 3 to 5% chance that this could happen. You need to make sure that the person you're working with, the buyer's agent that you're working with, wherever you are and whoever you're working with, and whatever company you're working with, hopefully it's us at Realty Executives. By the way, it says Realty Executives Ocala. It's also Realty Executives in the Villages too. We have 2 offices. But I think it's important to know that you have the opportunity to negotiate a little bit stronger with sellers. There's an opportunity here. So I think understanding that with your buyer's agent, and your buyer's agent should go over the options with you. In other words, they're going to present an offer that's going to include their compensation. And their first attempt is obviously to get you to not pay any of it. That's the first move. There's some rumors out there that are saying like, oh, you have to pay a buyer's agent. Possibly, but the chances of that are very, very tiny. Okay, very, very, very small. And with our company, especially on our listings, that's not gonna be something you have to worry about on the buyer side. By the way, just letting you know, because that we are offering buyer broker compensation with our company, Realty Executives. So that's just something to understand. I know this could be a little bit heavy for a lot of people. I think the biggest change for people, the public, is really 2 things. 2 things I want you to remember, then I'll drop it. The first thing is some sort or some form or some version of a buyer brokerage agreement is going to need to be signed before you go look at property. So get ready. That's going to be something that you're going to need to sign. If someone doesn't have you sign it, or at least present it to you to refuse to sign, then there could be an issue. Obviously, they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. That's number one. Number 2 is that, and part of this is that compensation is no longer on MLS. So, and many of you may not realize this, but for many years, or probably forever, on MLS, there would be commission. Now we're calling it compensation or professional fee. That would be on MLS, right? And that would be actually disclosed. And now it's not. So nobody knows. And the reason why they did that was they felt like realtors were moving people in a certain direction, steering people away from the properties that offered little commission or less commission, and hence they wanted to change that. Whether it's true or not, whether it's you agree with it or not, actually really doesn't matter, because that's just the way it is, right? So that's basically what we're seeing at the moment. Okay, hopefully, and if you have questions, put it in the chat. You can judge it. I don't think it's a fabulous thing for the public because it just confuses people, but somehow they felt it was a good thing to do. They, as in Department of Justice, and the settlement that they came down with, the lawsuit coming out of Missouri with the National Association of Realtors. But it's whatever. We're a resilient group. We're tough people, and we're going to help guide you in the process of finding a home. That's basically the most important thing. One thing I do want to share with you, so if you have any questions, leave it in the chat. Please share this too, because I think there might be some people that may need to hear what I'm talking about, right? That's definitely possible, right? So if you have that, and also like and subscribe, that would be very helpful as well. One thing I did want to share with you is essentially what's going on in the villages. So we've seen an increase in inventory. Inventory has gone up over the last couple of weeks, which is also the reason why we've actually taken a stance of making sure that we do we're encouraging, not forcing, because obviously compensation is negotiable. We're encouraging um, sellers to offer some sort of compensation to the buyer broker, because that makes the most sense in this marketplace. In a higher inventory marketplace, makes the most sense. So right now we're at 507 listings on the market. And something I wanted to go over with you is kind of like, what do we, what's happening at the moment when we're looking at the villages. Right now we're looking at 48 new listings over the last 7 days have come on the market in the villages MLS, right? And let me show you that too. Let me take a look at this. So, looking at 507, and ranging from, what is this one, by the way? 110,000. Obviously, I'm doing this live. Oh, it's an auction property, which means it won't sell for 110. It's going to go higher than that. It's typical. And then the highest, what's the highest priced home? Let's get the highest priced home right now in the villages. 2.9. Let's see, 2.899. Sounds like a great house. Let's see. Let's take a look at this. This is what you can get for almost $3 million in the villages. Kind of a bonus, like overlooking. Very sharp. Yeah. All right. It's kind of a, what are the specs on that? Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. You open up this. Bear with me. There we go. So we're looking at 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 3,800 square feet. And of course, overlooks the preserve, conservation trail. Yeah, looks good. It's listed. Let's see. It's Jim Richardson of ERA. So, all right. If you have any interest in it, let us know. By the way, my number is 352-572-3796. And let's see what else we're seeing here. 1.8. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 properties over $1 million in the villages right now. And we're looking at 61 price decreases. So we're seeing a lot of price decreases. We're going to look at average sales price in a minute. 39 sold, 27 pending. So that's light. Folks that have been watching me for the last 4 years, 27 is a light number. So it's been a quiet last 7 days. That's why we've seen the increase in inventory. But let's take a look at what's happened. Let's look at the sales for a minute. Let's look at the trend. Let's compare, and it's going to be a little bit difficult to compare August of this year versus last, but we can let's do sold in August. Actually, let's do a comparison of like closed all the way through, and it's not going to be completely accurate because we're almost 128 properties. There's probably going to be probably another 15, 20 more because it's not the end of the day and we're at the end of the month. So this is like going to be one of the busiest closing times. So let's say it's going to be at 145. It's going to be my estimation. We would know more on Monday. So let's go back. Let's look at August last year. Took out 1 day. 145 is okay. So look, 114. So more sales. So that's super interesting. That's something to really keep in mind. Like we've had a slower last 7 days as far as pendings, but we've seen more sales happening this year in August than we did last year, right? Actually, significantly more. We're already past that. We haven't even finished the day. So we're looking at about probably 25 to 35 more homes selling this year than last year. So a little bit better year. Last year was probably the bottom part of the marketplace, which is encouraging. Yet we've seen a bump up in inventory, and meaning that prices seem to be there's a slight drop in pricing. I'll probably do a more in-depth take in on it in the near future. Also, a little bit of a sneak peek in the next week or two. I'm going to have an attorney jump on and kind of we're going to have John Dean, the attorney, talk about the forms and what to watch out for from the buyer standpoint and a seller standpoint. So you can get some free legal advice in the next couple of weeks. So if you have questions, let me know. 352-572-3796. Please share and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. That would absolutely mean the world to me. Happy Friday. Happy Labor Day, by the way, and enjoy the weekend. Have a great weekend.